Hi, welcome to another episode of Trail House. This is Simo. Today I want to show you how you can install your solar panels without drilling or using screws or bolts. I used this system about 1.5 years ago, and I do have my solar panels on the roof that I have been using for almost 2 years without any issues. Now, I did travel thousands of miles highway speed, no issues whatsoever, okay? But the key is that I have to have the proper tape. Of course, you're going to need the bracket, so let's just use this as an example. This is the bracket. The solar panel sits right here on top of it. Obviously, it has a section here where you can install it, attach it to the solar panel. And then this surface here, this area here, this sits on the roof of your trailer. Now, this is the surface that we're going to be working with, okay? So this is all you're going to need. You're going to put the tape here, and then we're going to put a waterproof sealer to protect that tape. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. Now let's talk about the product. What you're going to need is a VHB tape. In this case, it's a 3M brand. It doesn't matter the brand as long as you get the super quality of VHB. It has to say VHB tape. And then the other product is the Dicor self-leveling sealer. I really like this product. Now this is none of this product is sponsored, so I have no connection, no affiliation with these companies. I'm just going to give you what I've used in the past and what I'm going to use now to install these 2 solar panels behind me, because I am upgrading my system. I currently have 2 solar panels and 1 battery. I'm adding 2 solar panels and 1 more battery, so I will have 400 watt solar system. Now, in order to achieve that, I will have to use the MC4 connectors. And for those who wonder what they need, you need this kind of connectors here. 4, if you want to, because you want to connect 2 solar panels, and you want to end up with a male connector here. So you've got to have 4, 1 panel and 2 panels, 1 male connector. And then the second one, don't get the 2 males, okay? One of them has to be female. Now these come as a set. I'm just trying to explain to you what you're going to need. So the same connectors on this side, but this is different. This is female, this is male. The idea is to connect all 4 solar panels here, and then you're going to have male and female wire. They're going to have another connector, another MC4 connector coming down to the battery or the solar charge controller. So that's just one tip here, that if you are looking to add solar panels, you will need those MC4 connectors. Now let's talk about the brackets. Now these brackets, I think the brand is HQST. Yeah, HQST. I bought these. I used the same brackets on the first install, and I decided to buy 2 more sets. This is a set that comes in 4. It has 4 brackets. Obviously, each solar panel has to have 4 brackets. They also come with screws and stainless steel screws and stainless steel bolts and nuts. We will use those bolts and nuts to attach the bracket to the solar panel, but we are not going to use the screws because, again, we are not drilling, okay? All right, so, and what I want to show you is my installation, the one that I did about 1.5 years ago. So you can see, after thousands of miles, highway speed, I traveled to so many states, I have not had an issue, one single issue. Those panels stayed in place. It didn't matter what kind of weather condition. I went through some severe weather storms in Texas, just you name it, just cold, hot. The temperature changes all the time with the elevation, and I really never had a problem with that tape. But the key here, again, is the tape. It has to be super high quality VHB tape. This is critical. This is a super nice, very, 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 this is an industrial tape. This is not like your normal household tape. And then you're going to need this. This is a good product, the Dicor, and it really resists the changes in the weather. It resists the water. It's actually waterproof material. So this is really, I like this, because what we're trying to achieve here is that once you put the tape on the surface and you attach it to the roof, you want to protect that tape. You want to waterproof that tape. And in order to waterproof that tape, you have to put this self-leveling sealer around the bracket, even the inside, because I've seen some people that make a mistake. it is very difficult to get to the side right here, because this is the solar panel sits here, and it's going to be very difficult to seal this section here. So some people actually skip this section. You do not want to skip it. You can use your hand, put some, use gloves obviously, and just make sure this gap, this crack right here, it's sealed, it's waterproof. This is easy to do because this is going to be exposed. You're just going to come like this, and you're going to do it like this, and you're going to be fine, but don't ignore this section here. So let me go ahead and show you my installation, and then we take it from here. But again, the reason why I talk about this, excuse me, they've got I think a bee or a fly. The preparation has to be critical. It has to be very, take your time, because what's going to happen is that you're only going to have this small surface right here on each bracket holding that solar panel in place. And imagine if you're driving at highway speed, there's a lot of resistance, there's a lot of pressure on that solar panel, so you could actually lose that solar panel and hurt somebody. So just be very careful, and that is just how I do it. Now again, it's up to you. These brackets come with the screws. You feel free to use the screws if you don't feel comfortable with that. But again, this is something that it has to be done properly. You have to clean the surface. You have to use alcohol, wash the surface, clean it, and then come back with some alcohol pads and then clean that surface, because you don't want any debris, don't want anything at all on that area. Not on the bracket itself or the roof, the area that you're gonna apply. I do recommend that you just wash and clean a few times, and then make sure you use the alcohol pads to clean the surface area. And when you try to use this tape, this is gonna be, there are no turning point, because this is gonna be super strong. It's gonna be super hard to remove. So measure twice, cut once, or in this case, measure 3 times and cut once. So this is just my advice to you. Let me go ahead and show you what I've got, and then we'll take it from there. Well, as you can see here, this is the Dicor. What you see there, that sealer is the Dicor self-leveling sealer. Again, I'm going to use my finger here. The tape is actually underneath this side of the bracket. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to protect that tape from the water, because once that water gets to that tape, it's just a matter of time before, and then you're going to lose your panel. So it's very important that when I talk about the preparation, and when you try to work also with this Dicor sealer, you really have to take your time. Also, you do want to seal the back section of this bracket, because I see some people that skip this section. You do not want to skip that. You really you put some gloves, use your hand, and make sure this back section here is sealed. It's waterproof. Another thing is that you see these holes here, and I'm going to show you a bracket here so you can understand. So this is what we want to achieve. We want to achieve this like that. That's the installation. These holes, because we're not going to use screws, they need to be filled with Dicor as well, as you can see here and here. Very important, because if you don't seal these off, if you don't close these holes, obviously you're going to have water in there and sit in there, and then it's going to get to the tape, and over time that tape is not going to be good. So it's very important. And as you can see, after almost 2 years, and I really haven't had any issues at all with this installation. And as you can see, I don't have the fan. This is all one solid piece of aluminum on the roof, and I want to keep it that way. So that's the reason why I don't want to have a lot of holes, and it's just less headache over time. And as you can see here, there is no cracking, there is nothing, and it's solid. I do inspect these brackets once in a while, and there is no issue whatsoever. But again, I just want to show you the results of this installation after 1.5 years, and my trailer doesn't just sit here all the time. I travel a lot, and highway speed, travel to the West Coast, thousands of miles, several states, and the weather, travel through some major storms, no issues whatsoever. At first I was nervous. I would stop after the installation. I tested the system. I would travel maybe just 20-30 miles, take a look again. This is just the first few weeks after the installation. But after that, a few times I inspected the panels. They didn't move, they didn't shift, and I knew that this is a good installation. All right, well, let's show you the the installation step by step. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to clean this section here. So we're going to put one panel here on this side and one panel right behind that second one. So we're going to put two of them, but again, I need to clean, and I'll talk more about that. All right, now the roof is cleaned. Now it's time to measure, because what we want to do is we want to make sure the connectors are reachable. So I need to connect those two panels where you see the cables. I want to connect them with these two right here. These have not been installed. This is just a styrofoam protectors, and as you can see, they're not even installed yet. So I want to make sure I measure. Now the critical part here is the surface. The surface has to be clean. After you just wash it very thoroughly, and make sure there's nothing. See that piece right there? That's just you just make sure there's just no dust, there's nothing going on here at all. So just make sure it's super clean. Now one step that we're gonna do here is that you can use alcohol, and that's what I'm gonna do. Now I do like to use some steel wool just to work the area where the brackets is gonna sit. So I don't have to do the entire roof. All I have to do after I measure and I mark where the bracket is going to go, and then I just come and then make sure I do one. I just kind of scrape this area and then use a little bit of alcohol to wipe off any residue, and then at that point I'm ready to go to apply the tape. It is very important. This is the critical time for me, is the installation of these brackets, not necessarily to the panel, but to the roof. This is the most important piece right here. So this is the reason why I've spent more time working on this than anything else. All right, what I want to show you here, I want to show you how you can install these brackets here. They're very simple. So ideally the best way to do this is to actually install these brackets on the panel, attach them to the panel first. As you can see, I'm doing this just on the ground. Obviously you have to protect the panel. I'm using the original box, but what you want to do, you want to use these bolts and washers and just these pieces that come with the bracket itself. So what you want to do is, as you can see here, you want to put this down in this position like that. These edges here, they should be outside the solar panel, like on this side right here. You're going to watch me install this very quick. So what you want to do is you want to put it like that, because this is the surface right here. This is going to be attaching the roof, okay? And it's very simple. There is a washer, a lock nut, and the nut itself. So this is, I just want to show you this very quickly. So it's secure, but I'm still going to go ahead and tighten this up a little bit. These panels, they come with the holes, the original holes, and they're easy to install, these brackets. This is the reason why I prefer to buy brackets from the same vendor, okay, because they actually work perfect. They fit perfectly, no problems. So I've just got one more for this panel, and then I'll work on the second panel. All right, the next step is that we put the, once we install the brackets, we can go ahead and put the panel back on the roof, because we do want to measure. I want this panel to be aligned with this one. You know, there is about 10 inches. What I do is basically I measure the distance between the panel or the bracket to the edge of the trailer, not to the tape. So it's about 10 inches. That's just something that, you know, I do because I don't want to just have the panel, this second panel, on this side of the trailer or that side of the trailer. I want it to be aligned perfectly with the first panel here. So when I first installed these two panels, I measured 10 inches. That's the distance between the panel and the edge of the roof, and the same thing here. Now once you measure like 10 inches here, what you want to do is just kind of mark the area where you're going to put the tape on all 4 brackets, okay? And then we're going to remove the panel with the brackets, because remember, we attach the brackets to the panel, and then I can go ahead and do minor cleanup, just maybe some alcohol, and that's going to be the final step before we can apply our tape. And let me just show you here again. We're going to do the same thing here because I already measured the distance here. So what I'll do is just go ahead and kind of mark where I want the tape to be. And that should be enough. Okay. All right, when you work your VHB tape, first step I want to do is open it. Don't make small pieces, just make one single piece, and you're going to see why. So just make sure you get close on the inner side, and then what you want to do is you want to just cut the excess tape. It's very simple. You could use a knife, a box cutter or something, but just use something that is going to cut this, have a clean cut. And as you can see, I've got this is secured, and then I'm just going to cut the excess. Now you are going to waste, this is not cheap, this is expensive, though you're probably going to waste some of the stuff here, but again, the goal here is to achieve, the goal is to have one piece that's less chance for failure. If I got two pieces, if I keep doing maybe three pieces, that's just that's a lot to deal with, and you may have actually some weaker points on the tape, so that's the reason why I prefer just one piece. And as you can see, this is perfect. This is ready to go. Now just press, make sure it's very attached to the bracket. So we're done with the bracket side. Okay, so we're gonna leave this side. We're not gonna remove this paper here for the other side until we flip the panel, and then we'll go back to our measurements, which you can see this line right here, and then once we get that aligned perfectly, then we can remove one piece at a time. That's the easiest way I find to do this, just one piece. So we're gonna have 4 of these. As you can see, I've got one here, and I finished with the first one, and I need to do the other 2 as well. What I'm gonna show you now is how to apply the Dicor. Remember, we already applied the tape, so the panel is actually attached permanently to the roof. So I'm going to show you how you can apply the Dicor. Now this is the easy part right here, the outside. Now the problem is the inside of the bracket, which is behind this panel right here. This has to be waterproof. So don't leave this section here behind the bracket, because that will allow for the water penetration, and that can cause some problems over time. So I'll go ahead and start. Usually I start with the back. It's very difficult to do, but you're going to need some gloves, because this stuff is messy already. But you do want to use gloves, and you're going to use your finger to reach to this area. So the way I do this is I just apply a little bit of Dicor, like so. And then I just reach in behind it slowly. I don't want to create a mess. This stuff is messy, so take your time and reach with your finger as far as you can get, and try to push that Dicor sealer between the bracket and the roof. You can do an overkill here, because it's not going to hurt it. It's only going to help it. I want to make sure there is no chance for water to get underneath that bracket and destroy the tape. The tape is just as good as the sealer. So we'll go ahead and do the right hand, because with your left finger you can't reach all the way to this side of the bracket, so I need to work on this side of the bracket. Alright, so that's plenty. And then this section here, again, this is a self-leveling sealer. Just go slowly. Make sure you go slowly. And this stuff is very sticky. It can get very messy. You can make some minor adjustments here to make sure. See that little gap right there? So make sure you just kind of help it, it's gonna settle down. It's just gonna, by the way, this Dicor, I recommend that you put it in the sun because it's easy to work with, because it's warm. Just make sure you get it, put the whole tube in the sun for maybe an hour or two. It's a lot easier to work with that way. There we go. So I think we're done. And as you can tell, I already closed. Make sure you close those holes for the screws. That is also another spot for water to get in and destroy your VHB tape. Okay, so I think we're done. This is the last one I was able to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the gloves, and I'll show you some of the work that I did here. So this is the one that we just did. I finished with this part right here, and as you can see, the second panel, it's already done. And then all I have to do now is just connect all the 4 panels together, and I'll show you how to do that. But again, the main thing here is to make sure you waterproof behind the bracket, between the bracket and the roof of your trailer. All right, I think we got everything done. I didn't show you how to connect these because they're very self-explanatory. You just have to connect male and female, and then when it's very simple. There is no positive or negative. It's just male and female. Even though you see a lot of wires there that are just very simple to connect. Now, what I do want to show you is the finished product here. As you can see, this is going to stay for a very long time with low to no maintenance at all. You do need to inspect these I usually inspect them every couple of months, 2-3 months. I am in the south, and my trailer actually sits in the sun, partially in the sun during the day, so I do get a lot of sun here, at least 4 or 5 hours of sun, and I do inspect the wires, inspect the connections and everything. Now I just used some of this. I left this exposed, that tape that we use to secure the panels. You can use that also to secure the wires. And what I decided to do is I put some Gorilla tape on top of that tape, so that will just help it with a little bit of waterproofing. I didn't put a sealer there, the Dicor, because I could just remove that tape and clean it. It's easy to clean. Dicor is very hard to remove, and I never had a problem with that system. You probably can see there's a tape on top of tape, and that's my connection, just to keep it in place as I drive. All right, I think we're pretty much done. And I had to move the wires, the original wires, so I just need to clean that spot right there. And I think we're good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect the system and test it. All right, I think we're done here. As you saw, it was a very simple process, but the key again is the preparation. I spent a little bit more time cleaning that bracket and cleaning the surface of the roof. That area where the bracket sits. It's not that complicated, but it just requires a little bit of attention, and it's just a little bit of work, and things can get really done quickly. Now, again, I'm not advising people to do it this way. This is just how I did it. As you saw, my first install was very successful, and I decided to do it the same way. I didn't change anything. I used the same material, and I used the same method. Even the cleaning method, I used the same thing. So I want to replicate the exact same method so I wouldn't have any problems with the second install. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Until next time, you take care of yourself. Bye-bye.